Hello, everybody. My name is Bryn Bentham. I'm a naturopathic doctor practicing in Summerland, British Columbia, Canada. And I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and he thought that it might be helpful for some of you out there for me to share with you some ideas of how you can keep you and your loved ones healthy and sane during this unique COVID-19 pandemic experience we're all going through. So I thought I'd do that. And like all of you, my family and I have been adjusting to the new realities of spending an inordinate amount of time together at home, which has its really awesome things and its also unique challenges. And like all of you, we've also gone through quite a range of emotions the last 10 days to 2 weeks that range from sort of fear and anxiety around all the unknown. There's been some grief as some of the kids' events that they've worked really hard at have been canceled. They both do dance, and my wife teaches dance and performing arts, and so there's been some grieving there and some figuring out what the next indefinite period of time will look like. But we've also experienced some excitement for some of the opportunities that to do some things that we maybe have just not had time for before, given our sort of previous way of doing life. So for now, what I thought I'd do is give you a bit of an overview of as to 5 things you can do to keep you and your loved ones safe and sane in this time, and also to embrace and make the most of what is hopefully a once-in-a-lifetime pause that we're all experiencing. So I'm going to assume you know some basics about hygiene and the importance of hand washing and not like licking doorknobs and staying home in order to sort of prevent spread. So we're going to assume that you know all that, and we're going to kind of go from there. So some of these ideas may come as a surprise, but there's 2 things that I'm shooting for here. 1, your sanity, and 2, your immunity. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to suggest is routine. So this comes first because, in my opinion, it sort of sets the table for all the other things. And if you're like me, which I shouldn't assume everyone is, but I don't operate particularly well in an environment of total chaos and free-for-all. When that happens, I tend to default to either just scrolling on a news feed and getting depressed about the state of the world, or watching shows until I just feel gross. So if that's the case, when there's 4 people in the house and none of them have any schedule, tensions can run high. So what we did is we created an outline of a routine that allows us all to do the things that we need to do, like laundry and meal prep and exercise and a little bit of work to the extent that we can. But also it schedules in the things that we like to do, like playing, having alone time, which is super important. Some video games or screen time for the kids. Those are all super important. And we just find that our kids, they tend to respond a lot better to transitioning away from screens, for example, if they know that when they see it coming. It also helps them if we plan specifically to have times for those so that they know that it's going to happen. So 1, I would suggest trying to establish a routine. 2nd would be movement. So there's nothing that you can take in a pill that quite does the same thing that exercise will do for your body. So for me, these days I've taken to running, even just 15 minutes a day with some stretching afterwards. It doesn't have to be much. Now, if you don't feel it's realistic to maintain appropriate social distancing based on where you live, then there are certainly options to be getting creative indoors. Just open the windows, get some fresh air. Exercise does wonders for your immune system. There has been a myth sort of around for years about how there's some temporary immune suppression from exercise, which may be the case for some hardcore endurance athletes, but for those who just do regular normal exercise, that immune suppression that's sort of been debunked. So the evidence shows pretty clearly that a physically active lifestyle diminishes the risk of contracting a range of communicable diseases, including viral and bacterial infections. And if you'd like to read more, I'm going to post a link so you don't have to just take my word for it. A 3rd option, 1 was some sort of routine, 2, movement, 3, we're going to go with try something new. So is there anything you've always wanted to learn but just never really had the opportunity or time? So for me, it was learning to play piano. So I've always been interested in music, and I played guitar for a number of years. But in the back of my mind, I always wish I knew how to play piano, and I wish I could read music. So, so for me, fortunately nowadays, there's apps and whatnot available that weren't around when I was a kid that make learning piano much more like playing Guitar Hero, like a video game, and it's super fun. And my kids have even taken to it. My son's been pretty excited about it. So that's been a fun way to spend some time on something that really is, it doesn't have like an endpoint of being productive. It's just something that for me, I've always wanted to do. So if there's something for you that you want to do just for the sake of honoring that, go for it. So 3, learn something new. 4, find a way to connect with some friends. So we are social creatures, and isolation can grate on us after a while. But I would encourage you to reach out to maybe some people that you don't get a chance to talk to as often. So I will be reaching out to you if I haven't talked to you in a while, hopefully. But I would encourage you to do that. So the 5th one is more specifically for your immune system. And on this one, we're going to focus on the nutrition and the things that you take into your body. So one thing that I want to say is I get a little bit irritated when I read people talking about immune boosters because what does that really mean? So your immune system, it isn't a vehicle that only drives in one direction. Sometimes you want it to move forward. Sometimes it's moving forward too fast and you need to slow it down. Sometimes you need it to go sideways. So I sometimes will use the language support, and maybe that's not perfect either, but it implies more that you're giving your immune system the tools it needs to do its job. So whether that means you need it to ramp up or slow down or whatnot, but we could probably do a full presentation on that, which I'd probably love to do. And if you're interested, just let me know and I can get going on that. But in terms of the things that what I thought I'd do is I'll just tell you what I'm taking. So what I take is I take 2 things specifically for my immune system. One is vitamin D. So vitamin D is something that we only get from sunlight. And if you live in Canada like I do, even if you were stark naked outside on a day like today in March when it was sunny, the UV index at this latitude does not generate enough vitamin D at this time of year. So for that reason, I recommend vitamin D to everyone up here. I personally take 5,000 IUs a day, and I like to do it in little liquid drops because I don't like pills. And it also is super easy for the kids to take. So I give my kids 1,000 to 2,000 a day. Unless I forget a dose, then maybe I'll double it up on that day. But yeah, so I would say what I do is I do that until the summer months, like May or June, and then I just go outside. So the other thing I take is a combination. It's called, I don't even know if you pronounce it this way, but ACEs plus zinc. So ACES and zinc. So vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, and zinc. These are all important. Vitamin C has probably gotten the most press for good reason, and that has made it somewhat difficult to find these days due to panic buying, I suppose. It's pretty safe to take multiple gram doses in a day. And if you're not sick, you'll eventually just get diarrhea from it, which might explain the toilet paper shortages, I suppose. But if you're not sick, you don't need a crazy amount. Even 300 to 500 milligrams a day is a pretty solid dose of vitamin C that will give you everything you need. But if you can't find that and you still want it, believe it or not, you can still get these things from food. So oranges and citrus are pretty well known for it, but there are even better sources like red peppers, green peppers have a lot of vitamin C. You can get vitamin C from pretty much all fruit, but kiwis, strawberries, even some vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, things in that sort of family. Even potatoes have vitamin C, believe it or not. So the nice thing about getting vitamin C through food sources is they bring along with them all sorts of other beneficial sort of nutrients that just a pill wouldn't. Actually, I was thinking about when I was a kid, my grandma, she would eat oranges, and she was pretty hardcore. She actually would eat the orange peels too, which that sometimes she would sort of subject my sister and I to that. But the old lady, she was ahead of her time maybe, but there are some things in the orange peels even that can be helpful. Something called quercetin, which is helpful for stabilizing histamine and different things like that. So point being, food sources of vitamin C's bring with the vitamin C a whole bunch of other nice things too. So I thought I'd mention vitamin A as well, specifically because it's important for your mucosal immune system. So your mucosal immune system is all sort of the pink parts that line your mouth, nose, throat, sinuses, down into your lungs, and your digestive tract. So your mucosal immune system does need vitamin A to function. So you can get vitamin A, carotene, beta carotene in carrots, for example, or orange vegetables is a pre-vitamin A that your body needs to convert, but it's still a great source. But again, I take this one particular combination that has some vitamin A in it because it's just handy and easy. So the other things that are in there are zinc and selenium, which are important minerals. I will post some published literature on vitamin D, vitamin A, selenium, and zinc at the end of the article. If you're curious about nerding out on it, like I tend to, you're welcome to have a look at that. So to summarize that fifth point about trying to take care of your immune system, I would say, I'll tell you what I do. I do two things. I do vitamin D, and I do this combination of A, C, E, selenium, and zinc. I suppose we could add an extra point, which would be sleep. Sleep is super important to your overall sanity and immunity as well, but I said at the outset 5, so we'll just stick to 5. So that sort of covers it. And if any of you would be interested in having me send you some of these things, you're welcome to email me at info@spokesclinic.com, like spokes of a wheel. So, or you could call the office 250-494-9496. If you would like to schedule a telemedicine consultation, you're certainly welcome to do that as well. You can either schedule online at the website spokesclinic.com, or you can call the office and we'll set it up. We have a couple of options. Like normally what we would do is a typical initial consultation, which is about 45 minutes to an hour. And if you have a complicated health problem that you'd like to go over, that's the route to go. But if you just want to chat a little bit about some of these things that I talked about here, or you wanted to just review some of your own supplements, I'm doing just reduced sort of 20-minute consultations at a lower rate, just so that we can, if you do have questions, I can answer it. If you have questions or ideas for another one of these types of things, you're also more than welcome to send me some questions. Email them at info@spokesclinic.com. And if there's some good ones in there, I'll do my best to create a little video for you. Anyways, I hope you're well and staying safe and trying to make the most out of all this, like all of us, until we can hopefully get back to some semblance of regular life. All right, hope you're well. Bye.